All right, let's dive straight into this. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a genuinely fascinating historical mystery that actually doubles as an absolute masterclass in strategy and communication. We are heading way back to the incredibly wealthy, totally opulent court of King Krishnadevaraya. He was one of the most powerful rulers of the Vijayanagara Empire in India. Now, his court was famous, not just for its vast riches, but for the absolute brilliance of the minds that hung out there. And right at the top of that list was the legendary Tenali Rama, a poet and advisor who was famous for his razor-sharp wit and these just unmatched observational skills. But listen, the story we're exploring today isn't just some amusing old folktale. It's actually a profound lesson in how we handle information, deception, and ultimately, the truth.
But before we get into the brilliant little plot that unfolds in the king's court, I want you to think about this question for a second. Is it enough just to speak the truth, or is proving it more important? You know, we're pretty much all taught from a super young age that as long as we're telling the truth, we are doing the right thing. But what happens when the truth sounds, well, totally unbelievable? Or what happens when a lie is so well dressed, so heavily funded, and presented with so much confidence that literally everyone else buys into it? As we're going to see in this explainer, just having the truth on your side, that's really only step one. How and when you actually deliver that truth is what determines who wins in the end.
Okay, so the sheer audacity of this deception is just incredible. The story kicks off one day when a courtier walks right into King Krishnadevaraya's royal assembly carrying something that should be totally impossible, a vibrant red peacock, a crimson peacock. He stands right there before the king, chest puffed out with immense pride, and drops this exact line: "Your Majesty, this is the rarest peacock in the world. I had to work very hard to find it." Just picture that scene for a moment. The visual spectacle of this supposedly rare bird completely dazzled the king. And let's be honest, the king was maybe just a little too easily swayed by shiny, colorful things. So, totally thrilled and amazed by this magnificent discovery, the king immediately rewards the courtier with this massive, lucrative prize. The courtier played perfectly on the king's desire for the unique, and he used absolute, unshakable confidence to sell a massive lie.
But you know, not everyone in the room was blinded by the spectacle. Enter Tenali Rama. While the rest of the court is busy oohing and eyeing over the bird and patting the courtier on the back, Tenali shifts right into detective mode. He didn't just look at the peacock. Actually, scratch that. It's more like he observed it. He really scrutinized it. And he noticed something absolutely crucial. Upon really close inspection of those feathers, there was a faint, almost invisible layer of red paint. The bird was a total fake. Now, human nature pretty much dictates that when we spot a scam like that, our very first instinct is to call it out immediately, right? We want to jump up and be the hero who uncovers the truth. But Tenali did something highly calculated and, honestly, incredibly difficult. He remained completely silent. He said absolutely nothing, turned around, and quietly left the court.
Now, Tenali's silence wasn't him just being passive. It was highly strategic. Instead of shouting some baseless accusation in the middle of the courtier's big moment of glory, Tenali went to work behind the scenes. The very next day, he strolls back into the royal court. But this time, he doesn't just bring one crimson peacock. He brings 4 of them. The king was absolutely floored. He says, "Tenali Rama, where on earth did you find so many of these rare red peacocks?" And with his knowing little smile, Tenali reveals his incredibly methodical process. Step 1, he found 4 perfectly ordinary peacocks. Step 2, he tracked down and hired the exact same painter the fraudulent courtier had used. Step 3, he had the birds safely painted red. And step 4, he brought them straight to the king. He literally recreated the crime just to expose it. And to completely seal the trap, Tenali didn't just bring the birds. He brought the ultimate star witness. He called the painter himself right into the middle of the royal court. The tension in that room must have been palpable. You have this terrified painter standing before the most powerful man in the entire empire, folding his hands in absolute respect and fear. And he just confesses to the whole thing. "Your Majesty, that courtier paid me money to paint the peacock red." Boom! In an instant, the grand deception completely unraveled. There's literally no room left for the courtier to deny it, no room to debate it, and absolutely zero room to manipulate the king's emotions anymore. The entire truth was just laid bare for everyone to see.
So the really crucial point here is the immediate, undeniable consequence of hard proof. The king whips around to the fraudulent courtier and demands to know how he dared to try and pull a fast one on the crown. The courtier, whose confidence had been through the roof just 24 hours earlier, now stood there with his head bowed in absolute shame. He had absolutely no choice but to accept his mistake, and the king acted swiftly. That heavy financial reward, instantly revoked. and a strict punishment was delivered right then and there. Justice was served quickly and cleanly. But if the story ended right here, it would just be your standard run-of-the-mill tale of a trickster getting caught. The real intellectual lesson of this source material, the real gold, is what happens next. After the dust settled and the fraudster was dragged away, the king turns back to Tenali Rama. And sure, he was impressed, but he was also genuinely curious. He asks Tenali, "Why didn't you tell the truth at that exact time? Like, why, when you first saw that faint red paint yesterday, didn't you just speak up and stop me from giving away a small fortune?" This is the moment that completely pauses the narrative. This single inquiry elevates this whole event from a fun little court drama into a profound masterclass in human psychology and communication.
And the answer brilliantly illustrates Tenali's entire worldview. Tenali explained to the king that, look, if he had spoken up yesterday, without the painter there, without the 4 other peacocks as backup, it would have just been his word against the courtier's. An accusation without evidence only creates a dispute. It just sparks this messy he said, she said argument where, honestly, the person with the most confidence usually wins. The king might have even been annoyed that Tenali was ruining the vibe. But the truth, when it's armed with evidence, it proves itself. It does all the heavy lifting for you. By having the patience to wait just one single day to gather the proof, Tenali removed the need for an argument entirely.
The king was deeply moved by this explanation. He smiled and delivered what is basically the ultimate praise. "Tenali Rama, your intellect is your biggest strength." And the entire royal court watched in admiration. See, they weren't just praising Tenali because he caught a liar. They were praising his extraordinary emotional control, his strategic patience, and his utterly flawless execution. He didn't let his ego rush him into making a premature accusation just to look smart in the moment. He let his intellect guide the timing of his big reveal, and that earned him the ultimate respect of the empire's highest authority. So what should we actually take away from all this? Let's distill down the core lessons here. Number 1, speaking the truth is absolutely vital. You've got to be able to see through the red paint of life and recognize reality for what it is. Number 2, timing is literally everything. Your initial observation, that's just data. When you choose to actually share that data is a strategic decision. Don't go rushing into a dispute unprepared. And number 3, presenting with evidence is the ultimate power. If you want to persuade a boss, convince a client, or correct a massive misconception, don't just bring an argument to the table. Bring the metaphorical painter and the 4 peacocks. Make your truth so self-evident that it simply cannot be denied. We're going to wrap up this explainer with a final thought for you to chew on. Have you ever had to wait for the exact right evidence before you finally spoke up? Or, on the flip side, have you ever spoken up way too soon, only to find yourself stuck in a messy dispute because you didn't quite have the proof in hand yet? The story of the Crimson Peacock teaches us that the truth is a remarkably powerful weapon, but only when it's sharpened by solid evidence and wielded at the exact right moment. Definitely keep that in mind the next time you find yourself wanting to call out a painted bird in your own life. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this brilliant strategy, and I really hope it helps you communicate a lot more powerfully going forward.